Tonight on TrendProof, NASA's next chapter, from a veteran astronaut's farewell to Roman's launch countdown.
This is a NASA update built from 4 official announcements released during the past week. Together, they show a veteran astronaut leaving the agency, a flagship telescope nearing launch, NASA widening access to its programming, and Kennedy Space Center preparing a public aerospace event. The reporting distinguishes confirmed NASA announcements from future plans and target dates. First, the departure of Mike Fincke. NASA said on August 12th that Fincke is leaving the agency after exactly 30 years of service. NASA credits him with 4 space flights, 549 days in space, and 9 spacewalks supporting the International Space Station. The agency says his cumulative spacewalk time was 48 hours and 37 minutes, placing him among the most experienced NASA astronauts in that category. Fincke's career also traces several generations of human spaceflight. NASA says he first flew in 2004 on Soyuz TMA-4 for Expedition 9. He later commanded Expedition 18, flew on the final mission of Space Shuttle Endeavour in 2011, and most recently piloted NASA's SpaceX Crew 11 mission. The significance is not only the number of flights. NASA says Fincke worked across spacecraft development, flight testing, station operations, and the Commercial Crew Program. The agency credits him with helping carry astronaut and safety perspectives into the development of crewed spacecraft. That mix of experience matters as NASA continues relying on the International Space Station, commercial crew vehicles, and future lunar exploration plans. In his departure statement, Fincke said he remains committed to exploration and to preparing the next generation of engineers, explorers, and leaders. That is a personal statement, not a new mission announcement. But it frames why NASA presented the departure as more than a retirement headline. It is a handoff from an astronaut whose career crossed the Soyuz, shuttle, station, and commercial crew eras. Second, Roman is entering its final countdown. NASA's current Roman Space Telescope gallery lists August 30th, 2026 as the target launch date from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Target dates can change as final launch preparations proceed, so the key wording is target, not guarantee. The Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope is designed for panoramic infrared surveys. NASA says its field of view will be at least 100 times larger than Hubble's, allowing it to survey broad stretches of the sky while retaining sharp infrared vision. NASA says the mission is intended to help researchers explore dark matter, dark energy, exoplanets, and a wide range of other celestial questions. Roman is not simply a replacement for Hubble or a repeat of the James Webb Space Telescope. The missions are built for different strengths. The Roman concept emphasized by NASA is breadth, a deep and wide view that can gather large cosmic surveys. That survey approach is central to the mission's science goals, including learning more about the way the universe expands and cataloging enormous numbers of objects across the sky. NASA's visual materials show the observatory's final configuration and preparation process. The agency's Roman gallery also documents a recent transport from Goddard Space Flight Center toward Kennedy Space Center and lists updated animation and hardware resources. Those materials are useful visual context, but the report's factual claims remain tied to NASA's written release and gallery. The immediate takeaway is straightforward. Roman is no longer a distant concept. NASA now lists a specific target launch date, and the agency is presenting the telescope as a major new survey mission. Whether the August 30th target holds will depend on final mission and launch readiness checks. Third, NASA is widening public access to its programming. NASA announced August 10th that its NASA Plus feed is streaming on Discovery Plus live channels, and that special NASA events are headed to HBO Max. The agency says the continuous NASA Plus feed is already available on Discovery Plus, while HBO Max will carry NASA special events, including the Artemis 3 mission in 2027. NASA also says NASA Plus remains free, without ads, through the NASA app and the agency's website. The expansion does not replace NASA's own platforms. Instead, it creates additional places where viewers can find mission coverage. The agency says supported devices on the new platforms can display programming in Dolby Vision, which it describes as providing brighter imagery, sharper contrast, and more detail. That announcement is about distribution, not a change to launch schedules. But it matters because public access is part of how major missions are experienced. NASA says future programming could include science mission launches, lunar deliveries, a docking test with human landing systems, and future crewed lunar activity. The word "could" matters here. NASA is describing the type of programming it expects to offer, not confirming every event as a final streaming schedule. For viewers, the practical point is simple. NASA says its content will be available through its free service, as well as through additional subscription platforms. For the agency, the move is part of a broader effort to place exploration coverage on the devices and services audiences already use. Fourth, NASA is planning a new public aerospace event called Max Power. NASA announced the exposition and airshow on August 14th and says it is scheduled for November 7th and 8th at and near Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The agency says the event is being planned in connection with the nation's 250th anniversary. NASA says the event is intended to bring together the public, engineers, astronauts, pilots, innovators, companies, and aerospace technologies. The announced plans include an air show featuring NASA aircraft, the United States Air Force Thunderbirds, and aerial demonstrations by multiple branches of the military. NASA also lists speaker sessions, technology exhibits, historic and current hardware, commercial aviation displays, and tours connected to Kennedy Space Center. These are planned elements, not completed events. The air show is still months away, and attendees will need to follow NASA's event information for ticketing and access details. Still, the announcement gives a clear picture of the intended scale. NASA is framing Max Power as a public-facing showcase spanning aviation, space exploration, autonomy, commercial space, and future transportation technology. The event also ties back to the report's earlier stories. Kennedy Space Center is the targeted launch site for Roman, a centerpiece for NASA's public programming, and the planned location for Max Power. NASA is using the site not only as a launch base, but as a place where the public can see aerospace history and future technology in the same setting. Together, these four developments show different parts of NASA's next chapter. Fincke's departure marks the end of an individual career that linked several human spaceflight eras. Roman represents a near-term science mission with a specific target launch date. NASA Plus is expanding how the public can watch agency programming. And Max Power is a planned in-person event built around aerospace technology and public engagement. The verified picture is therefore not one single announcement. It is a set of official updates about people, science hardware, public access, and the spaces where NASA intends to bring audiences closer to its work. We will continue to track any change to the Roman target date and any additional details on the November event. The key distinction throughout this report is between official facts, announced future plans, and target dates that remain subject to change. NASA says Fincke has departed after 3 decades. NASA lists an August 30th target for Roman. NASA has announced expanded streaming access, and NASA has planned Max Power for November. Those are the verified milestones to watch next.
That is the verified NASA update. We will track Roman's target launch and NASA's next announcements. Thanks.